The human soldier selected the least likely alien princess and Evereth. Elia's ward never expected his life to change because of a government housing form. The form was simple: name, occupation, willingness to participate in interspecies cultural programs. Elias had checked yes without thinking. He was a systems engineer on Luna Station, quiet, careful, and mostly invisible. Humans were no longer alone in the galaxy, but they were still considered young and inexperienced by most alien civilizations. Cultural exchange programs were common now, mostly boring, mostly harmless. That was what Elias believed, until the day Lura arrived. She stood in the doorway of his assigned apartment, tall and still, her posture perfect. Her skin shimmered faintly, not glowing but reflecting light in a way that felt wrong. Not wrong in a bad way, just unfamiliar. Her eyes were large and dark, watching everything at once. "Designation confirmed," she said calmly. "You are Elias Ward." "Yes," Elias replied, adjusting his jacket. "You must be Lura." "I am Lura of the Valeth Collective," she said. "Assigned domestic and cultural assistant." "Domestic assistant." Elias swallowed. "You mean maid?" She tilted her head slightly. "That is the closest human term." He stepped aside. Welcome." Lura entered without hesitation, already scanning the apartment. Her gaze lingered on small details: wires near the wall, the old coffee machine, the faint crack in the ceiling panel. She noticed everything. Elias noticed that she noticed. That was the first strange thing. For the first few days, everything seemed normal. Lura cleaned efficiently, too efficiently. She never wasted movement, never paused. She organized items Elias didn't remember placing anywhere. She learned his routine without asking: when he woke, when he worked, when he preferred silence. She spoke only when necessary, but Elias began to sense something was off. Sometimes, when she thought he wasn't looking, she paused near the far wall of the apartment. The wall looked solid like any other, but Lura would stand there, fingers hovering just above the surface, as if listening. Other times she would stop mid-task and look at Elias, not directly, slightly past him, as if watching something behind his eyes. "Is everything okay?" Elias asked one evening. "Yes," Lura replied instantly, too fast. That was the second strange thing. Elias was human. Humans notice patterns. They noticed when silence lasted too long. They noticed when someone avoided certain questions. They noticed when something felt almost normal, but not quite. On the fourth night, Elias couldn't sleep. He sat at the table, staring at a half-empty cup of coffee. The station lights outside cast slow shadows across the room. Lura stood near the wall again. "Lura," Elias said carefully, "what are you doing?" She turned slowly. "I am maintaining my assigned systems." "Those systems are in my apartment." "Yes." "That wall doesn't look like a system." She paused. Then she did something unexpected. "Would you like to see?" Lura asked. Elias blinked. "See what?" She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Would you like to peek?" The word felt strange coming from her. Not playful, not secretive, almost formal. Elias hesitated. "I'm not authorized for alien tech," he said. "You are not prohibited," Lura replied, "and I am permitted to ask." "Why me?" Lura's eyes focused on him fully for the first time. "Because humans observe differently." That was the third strange thing. Lura raised her hand and touched the wall. The surface rippled. Not like liquid, like reality deciding to move aside. A thin opening appeared, narrow, dark, and deep. Behind it was not another room, but layers of faint geometric light, shifting slowly. Elias leaned forward despite himself. "That's not supposed to be there," he whispered. "No," Lura agreed, "it is not." "What is it?" "A local interface node," she said, "used by my people to monitor environmental systems." "Monitor Luna Station." "Yes." Elias straightened. "Why would aliens need hidden monitors in a human station?" Lura did not answer immediately. Instead, she stepped aside. "Look closer," she said. Elias hesitated, then leaned in. He didn't touch anything, he just watched. And that was when he noticed it. The light patterns repeated, not perfectly. One sequence lagged behind the others by a fraction of a second. That delay, Elias said slowly, that's a feedback loop error. Lura stiffened. That is not possible, she said. It is, Elias replied. Your system is compensating instead of fixing the source. It's clever. But unstable. Lura stared at the interface. Then she stared at Elias. You detected that visually. Yeah, Elias said. I mean, it's obvious once you see the rhythm. Our analysts did not see it. Elias felt a strange chill. How long has this system been running? 300 cycles. And no one noticed? No. Elias leaned back, suddenly uneasy. What happens if that delay collapses? Lura's voice lowered. Station-wide failure. Silence filled the room. Elias felt his heartbeat in his ears. You're telling me, he said carefully, that an alien system hidden in my apartment could break the entire station. Yes. And you wanted me to peek? Yes. Why? Lura looked away. Because my people believe humans are not observant enough to matter. Elias let out a slow breath. And you wanted to test that. I wanted to be certain. Elias laughed quietly, not because it was funny, because it was terrifying. So what now? He asked. Lura's expression changed. Not fear, not guilt, concern. Now, she said, others may notice that I showed you. Others? Elias repeated. Overseers. Elias' smile faded. Did you report this? No. Will they find out? Lura hesitated. Yes. Outside, the station lights flickered just once. Elias looked at the wall again, at the hidden system pulsing behind it. He had only peeked, and somehow that had changed everything. Elias did not sleep that night. He sat at the small table, staring at the wall where the hidden system lived. The ripple had closed, leaving nothing behind, just a normal wall, too normal. Lura stood near the window, silent. The station outside looked calm, too calm. You said overseers might notice, Elias said quietly. How long do we have? Lura turned her head slightly. Unknown. The system corrected itself briefly. That may delay attention. Delay, Elias repeated, not stop. Yes, Elias rubbed his face. Then we need to fix the root problem. Lura looked at him sharply. You cannot interfere. I already did, Elias replied, by noticing. She did not argue. That told him everything. The next morning, Elias went to work as usual. Luna Station's engineering deck was full of humans and a few aliens from friendly species. Screens glowed. Machines hummed. Everything looked normal, but Elias noticed something. The power readings were drifting. Not enough to trigger alarms. Not enough for automated systems to react, but enough to bother him. He pulled up deeper diagnostics. The numbers did not lie. Something was drawing energy in tiny, hidden pulses. Elias leaned back in his chair. That system isn't just watching, he muttered. It's feeding. Back at the apartment, Elias confronted Lura. It's using station power, he said. Small amounts spread out, that's why no one noticed. Lura nodded slowly. Correct. And the delay I saw, Elias continued. That's because the station systems weren't designed to support alien logic loops. You are correct again, she said. Elias crossed his arms. So if this keeps running, it will overload something critical. Yes. And your people didn't care. Lura's eyes dimmed slightly. They calculated acceptable loss. Elias stared at her. Acceptable, he repeated. Your species was not expected to detect the issue, Lura added softly. There it was. Humans were background noise. That night, Lura opened the wall again. The geometric light returned, slow and pulsing. Elias leaned in, careful not to touch. Your system is too rigid, he said. It expects perfection. Perfection is efficiency, Lura replied. Not in messy environments, Elias said. Humans designed for failure. Lura looked confused. We assume things will break, Elias continued. So we add slack, workarounds, ugly solutions. He pointed to one shifting pattern. That node is trying to correct itself instead of asking for help. Lura paused. Asking for help is inefficient. Until it saves your station, Elias said. Slowly, Lura extended one finger. Show me, she said. Elias spent hours explaining. He used simple diagrams, simple words. He avoided alien theory and stuck to logic. If this fails, he said, you don't hide it, you reroute. That creates imperfection, Lura said. It creates survival, Elias replied. She watched closely, too closely. You are not afraid, she observed. I am, Elias said. I just don't freeze. That was another thing humans did. 2 days later, the overseers arrived. They did not knock. The air in the apartment shifted, heavy and cold. 3 tall figures appeared near the wall, their forms sharp and angular. Their eyes glowed faintly. Lura straightened instantly. Overseers, she said. Elias stood slowly. One of them spoke. Its voice echoed slightly, layered with multiple tones. Human Elias Ward, it said, you have been observed. Yeah, Elias replied. I figured. Lura glanced at him sharply. You were not authorized to observe our systems, the overseer continued. You put it in my apartment, Elias said calmly. That's on you. The overseers paused. That was new. They opened the wall wider than before. The system glowed brighter, now unstable. You detected an anomaly, one overseer said to Lura. Explain. Lura hesitated. He detected it, she said finally, visually. The overseers turned to Elias. Explain your method, one demanded. Elias took a breath. I looked, he said. I watched the rhythm, it stuttered. That is not a method, the overseer said. It worked, Elias replied. Silence followed. The overseers ran their own scans. The delay worsened. Alarms flickered faintly in the system's deeper layers. The instability is increasing, one overseer said. Elias pointed. That node, it's refusing external input. Because it is superior, the overseer replied. And because of that, Elias said, it's going to fail. Lura looked between them. Human Elias proposed a solution, she said quietly. The overseers turned back to Elias. Describe, they ordered. Elias swallowed. If you let it admit weakness, he said, it can reroute load to local station systems temporarily. Not perfect, but stable. That risks contamination, an overseer said. It risks survival, Elias countered. The system shuddered. Lights flickered across the room. The station trembled just slightly. That was enough. Proceed, an overseer said sharply. Lura moved instantly, adjusting the interface. Elias guided her. Now there, he said. Let it fail a little. The pattern shifted. The delay smoothed. The tremor stopped. Silence returned. The overseer stared at the stabilized system. Impossible, one whispered. Elias exhaled slowly. Told you, he said. Humans designed for the worst day, not the best one. The overseers turned to him. You are not as limited as predicted, one said. No, Elias replied. We're just used to being ignored. Lura looked at him with something new in her eyes, respect. Later, after the overseers left, Elias slumped into a chair. That was intense, he muttered. Lura stood before him. You changed their calculations, she said. Good, Elias replied. They were wrong. She hesitated, then spoke quietly. They will watch humanity more closely now. Elias looked up. Let them, he said. We'll notice them back. Lura almost smiled. After the overseers left, Luna Station felt different. Nothing visible had changed. The lights stayed steady. The halls stayed quiet. People went to work, drank coffee, laughed, complained. Normal life, but Elias felt it. He was being watched, not by cameras, by attention. At the engineering deck, system requests began to appear with unusual frequency. Diagnostics that normally took weeks to be approved were suddenly marked urgent. Requests came not only from humans, but from alien administrators who had never spoken to him before. They were testing him, they just did not say it out loud. Lura noticed it too. They are adjusting observation parameters, she said one evening. Elias raised an eyebrow. Meaning? Your actions altered prediction models, she explained. Human behavior is now classified as unstable. Elias smiled slightly. That might be the nicest thing anyone else said about us. Lura did not smile. That classification creates risk, she said. Risk how? For you, for your species. Elias leaned back in his chair. So now we matter. Yes, Lyra replied. That was not comforting. 3 days later the request arrived, not from Luna Station, from beyond it. An interstellar relay opened during Elias' shift. The signal carried multiple layers of authorization. Only one human name was attached, his. Elias stared at the screen. They want me, he said quietly. Lyra stood beside him. They want to observe you under controlled conditions. That never ends well, Elias muttered. The observation chamber was not a room. It was a space. A wide platform floating inside a transparent field, surrounded by stars. Alien figures appeared as projections, dozens of them, from species Elias had only seen in files. The overseers were there too. Elias stood alone at the center. "You are Elias Ward," an overseer said. "You will demonstrate human problem-solving." Elias crossed his arms. "No pressure. You will be presented with a failing system," the overseer continued. "You will not be told its purpose." A structure formed in the air, complex, shifting, layered with alien logic. Elias squinted. "It's beautiful," he said honestly. "That is irrelevant," the overseer replied. Elias stepped closer, and immediately he noticed something wrong. The system was perfect, too perfect. Everything aligned, every loop closed cleanly, no waste, no slack. Elias frowned. "This thing can't exist long-term," he said. "Explain," the overseer demanded. "There's no room for error," Elias replied. "No tolerance. One surprise input and it collapses." The alien projections rippled. "This system has never failed," one voice said. Elias nodded. "That's the problem." They activated it. At first nothing happened. Then a small fluctuation appeared, external radiation, natural and random. The system corrected instantly. Another fluctuation. Another correction. Elias watched quietly. "Why are you silent?" an overseer asked. "I'm waiting," Elias said. "For what?" "For the third one." It came. The system hesitated just for a fraction of a second. Then it overcorrected. The structure shuddered. Alarms flared. The observers reacted instantly, flooding the system with control commands. It made things worse. "Stop," Elias said sharply. They ignored him. The system destabilized further. "If you keep forcing it," Elias said louder, "it will tear itself apart." "Human, you are not authorized." "Then authorize me," Elias snapped. "Or watch it fail." Silence. Then one word: "Proceed." Elias moved fast. He did not try to fix everything. He picked one weak point. "Cut that loop," he said. "Let it drop." "That will cause loss," an overseer protested. "Temporary," Elias replied, "or permanent if you don't." They complied. The system sagged but held. Elias exhaled. "Now build redundancy," he said. "Messy, inefficient, human style." The aliens hesitated. Then followed his instructions. Slowly stability returned. The observers were silent. The system floated calmly, imperfect but alive. "You allowed failure," one alien said softly. "Yes," Elias replied, "because failure happens whether you allow it or not." "You embrace weakness," another said. "No," Elias corrected, "we prepare for it." The chamber dissolved. Elias found himself back in his apartment, legs shaking. Lyra was there, steady as always. "You succeeded," she said. "Barely," Elias replied. "You altered interspecies risk hierarchy," she added. Elias blinked. "That sounds important." "It is," Lyra said. "Humanity is no longer classified as minor." "What are we now?" She paused. "Unpredictable contributors." Elias laughed softly. "I'll take it." But not everyone was pleased. Later that night the station lights dimmed unexpectedly. Emergency protocols flickered on. Elias grabbed his jacket. "That's not normal." "No," Lyra agreed. "That is deliberate." A message appeared on the wall, encrypted, alien. Lyra translated instantly. "Unauthorized human influence detected," she read. "Containment recommended." Elias felt a cold knot in his chest. "Containment of what?" he asked. "Of you," Lyra said. Security units moved through the station, not human, not violent, but firm. Doors sealed, corridors redirected. Elias and Lura stood in the apartment surrounded by invisible fields. "They think I'm a risk," Elias said. "You are," Lura replied. "That's not comforting. You are a risk to their assumptions," she clarified. Footsteps echoed. Alien authorities gathered outside. One voice spoke through the field. "Human Elias Ward, you will be relocated." Elias looked at Lura. "Are you coming with me?" She hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than he expected. "I was not assigned to this outcome," she said. Elias nodded slowly. Figures. The field tightened. Elias took one last look at the wall where it had all begun. He had only peeked, and now the galaxy was reacting. As he was escorted away, Lura spoke quietly, just loud enough for him to hear. "Humans change systems by noticing what others ignore," she said. "That frightens many." Elias met her gaze. "Good," he said. "It should." Far above Luna Station, data spread through alien networks. Humanity was no longer invisible. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. Elias Ward expected a prison. What he received was a room. The room was clean, bright, and silent. No bars, no guards, just smooth walls and a wide window showing distant stars. A gentle field hummed around the space, firm but not threatening. Containment, Elias thought. He sat on the simple chair and waited. Humans were good at waiting. Across the station, Lura stood alone. She had been reassigned, removed from domestic duty, removed from Elias. Officially, she was now an observer without influence. Unofficially, she was being watched just as closely as he was. Her people did not like variables, and Elias Ward was a large one. Hours passed. Then the air shifted. A familiar presence filled the room. The overseers appeared, 3 of them tall and still, their forms sharp against the soft light. "Human Elias Ward," one said, "you have caused widespread recalculation." Elias nodded. "Yeah, that sounds right." "You interfered with systems beyond your authority," another said. "You asked me to," Elias replied calmly. A pause. "That is accurate," the overseer admitted. "You are dangerous," the lead overseer continued. Elias tilted his head. "Because I fix things." "Because you change outcomes," the overseer said, "without seeking control." Elias leaned back. "Funny thing about humans, we don't like control as much as you think." "That is illogical," an overseer replied. "Maybe," Elias said, "but it works." They showed him projections, star maps, trade routes, stations like Luna, many of them, hidden systems. "Hidden observers. Your species was monitored," the overseer said, "as a precaution." Elias studied the maps. "You were watching us," he said, "not helping, not asking, just waiting." "Yes. And some of your systems are unstable," Elias added. Silence followed. "You noticed," the overseer said. Elias smiled faintly. "Told you, humans notice." "You are contained to prevent further disruption," the overseer said. Elias stood. "Then you've misunderstood us," he said. "Explain." "We don't disrupt to win," Elias said. "We disrupt to survive. And to help others survive too." "That is not your role," an overseer replied. Elias looked directly at them. "Then maybe your roles need updating." Far away, Lura listened as data streams shifted. Human influence models were no longer stable. Some alien factions demanded stricter control. Others hesitated. They remembered the system that should have failed and didn't. Back in containment, Elias was given a choice. "Remain isolated," the overseer said, "or assist under supervision." Elias laughed softly. "That's not really a choice," he said. "Clarify," the overseer demanded. "If I stay isolated," Elias said, "you learn nothing. If I help, you risk change, but change is already happening." The overseers exchanged silent signals. "You will assist," one finally said. "Under observation," Elias nodded. "That's fine, I'm used to being watched." The first test came quickly. A deep space relay had begun to fail, one that linked several species together. No one understood why. Alien logic said it should work. Elias looked at the data. He frowned. "This thing's overloaded with expectations," he said. "Explain," an overseer demanded. Too many rules, Elias replied. Too perfect, it doesn't know how to fail safely. That is impossible, an alien engineer said. Elias shrugged. Watch. He did not replace the system. He added something small, a delay, a pause, a human trick. The relay stuttered, then stabilized. Energy use dropped, connections cleared, the room fell silent. You made it weaker, an overseer said. No, Elias corrected. I made it flexible. News spread, quietly. Alien engineers began requesting human consultation. Not publicly, not proudly, but often. Elias worked for days, then weeks, always watched, always limited, and always effective. Lura was finally allowed to see him again. They stood on opposite sides of a soft field. You changed everything, she said. I just peeked, Elias replied. That was enough, Lura said. She hesitated. My people fear your species now, she admitted. Elias nodded. That makes sense. But some of us are hopeful, she added. That makes more sense, Elias said. The final decision came from the collective, not in anger, in uncertainty. Humanity would be offered a role, not leaders, not subjects, partners, observers who could speak, fixers who could advise. You will not command, the overseer said, but you will be heard. Elias smiled. That's all we ever wanted. Before he left containment, the overseer asked one final question. Why do humans act without seeking dominance? Elias thought for a moment. Because the universe is already big, he said. We don't need to own it, we just want to live in it. The overseers said nothing, but they listened. On Luna Station, life returned to normal, mostly. Hidden systems were revealed. Alien observers began asking instead of assuming. Humans were still small, still young, but no longer invisible. Lara was reassigned once more. Not as a maid, not as an observer, but as a liaison. She and Elias stood by the window watching stars drift by. You were right, she said. Humans observe differently. Elias nodded. We survive that way. You changed the galaxy, Lara said. Elias shook his head. No, he said softly. I just noticed it needed fixing. Far beyond Luna Station, data spread through countless worlds. A new rule was added to many systems. Allow for human input, not because humans were strongest, not because they were fastest, but because when others looked away, humans looked closer.